Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Today we've got Jason Howe on the show. Jason, welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you here. And I'm really excited about today's topic. We're going to be talking about scaling a business to six-figure months, which is something that many entrepreneurs aspire to get six-figure years. And so it's a totally different paradigm shift of how to even do six-figure months. It's just raising the bar for ourselves. So before we jump into that, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you're up to these days.
Sure. So my name is Jason. I own a digital marketing agency called Agency J, and I first started off as a freelancer in 2012. And I went through college, I graduated, and started the agency later on, kind of moving from a freelancer model to kind of like an agency model, becoming a business owner. So the process for me was more incidental than anything. Then it became I was kind of like an accidental entrepreneur. It's not
That's
like
cool.
I started wanting to build like a 7, 8, or even 10-figure empire. It just happened to be that way. I kind of enjoyed what I did a lot, and I just decided to say, hey, how can I take this further and build it into like an actual career? So I went from a freelancer eventually into an agency owner. So, in terms of what I'm doing these days, a lot of focus has been put on helping the clients that we have actually grow to multiple six-figure months. We're trying to break through in the area because I'm also trying to level up and train my team to deliver better offers and services. So that's one. At the same time, I'm also working on a second business at the very moment that actually started just this month in beta. One of my team members and I have actually set up a separate service that we hope to scale, that we think is actually more scalable than our current agency services. What we actually do is to basically design marketing funnels for people, and we basically design and develop that directly inside of WordPress or ClickFunnels, which is the software that we commonly use. And we do that based on like one price or one subscription fee. Because right now, a lot of people, what they do is if they want to build a funnel, they either have to do it themselves and it's super ugly, or they have to hire a professional to do it for like a custom price. And the custom price can be anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000.
Yeah.
So instead, you could hire us. We actually give us the brief and we develop and build whatever you need to based off, we don't use templates, but we just happen to have these structures and layouts that we use. We show you what kind of designs we have. You tell us what your inspiration is, give us your brand elements, and we'll create something original for you. So
Very
that
cool.
is really at the end of the day, what we're working on the side. And we do have a lot of hope for it, I think, or expectations for it, just because we think that it will be a great hit out there.
Yeah, I love that idea. And it does sound very scalable because so many people, myself included, I mean, we sign up for ClickFunnels and you just think you're magically going to get traffic overnight. And then you're like, man, it is kind of hard. It's easy to use the software or even WordPress. You can figure out how to make a website, but is it fully optimized? Is it loading fast? Are you using a slow theme? Like those are all the things that happen that a lot of people, they don't want to spend the time doing. So it sounds awesome that you're going to have that done for you service of just being able to plug and play certain elements as your second business. And then I know one thing too that I wanted to make sure our listeners know before we start jumping into the today's topic is that we're really going to focus on coaches and course creators because that is your field of expertise and that's where you've been helping most people scale up. Because while it can be done in other industries like real estate where I am, that's kind of a different conversation of how to scale up to six-figure months. You got to build a team and get a bunch of leads and all that kind of thing and get listings. So I just wanted to make that distinction so that our audience knows, but we're going to talk about a lot of nuggets that are applicable in other industries. But I think that all of us have a course within us, like a course in a book. It's just a matter of being an expert at something and then teaching others how to do it through some sort of digital product. So thanks for sharing all that, Jason. Really excited to hear about everything that you're up to. And where do you want to begin? Like, how do we grow and scale and where do we start? If someone's just starting off or they have a course and they're not really selling that many, I'll let you lead the way.
Sure. So, Chris, first of all, thanks a lot for bringing that context into place. I know that, like you said before, a lot of those principles are actually kind of applicable, but we wanted to set a context so that whoever is taking in this information can take it in with the right, kind of mind or mindset on it. So, I think when it comes to the way I look at just the coaches and the course creator market, there are generally, I would say, 3 to 4 different segments of them. Or 3 to 4 different stages that I think that I could categorize them in. So if someone is really just starting out, there are 2 schools of thought. One school of thought is yes, you can run ads, but I belong in the other school of thought, which is please don't run any ad at all. And the reason for that is because you don't have the right skill set to do that. And once you don't have the right skill set, it is very fast and easy for you to lose all of your money doing that, get demoralized, depressed. And just yesterday, I was in one of the groups, and one of them was like, I've created this course for the last 2 years, haven't gotten any traction. I think I want to delete the course. And like this person has put in months and months of hard work trying to create a course. And just because this person doesn't, do great in marketing, has wasted a bunch of money on ads, they decided to say, I got to stop losing money. So you don't have to lose money. But there are certain ways that you can consider selling your course that would lower your risk, that doesn't require ads. But of course, it does require a bit more time, because what ads does is it allows you to reach people and get results quickly. But only when you have a course that's proven, a marketing message that has been validated, that actually resonates with your target audience, and you have even found people who want your course. So we always talk about this idea of validating your course idea, which is not too different from the whole idea of validating your startup idea or validating your kind of product idea, right? So it's about finding that startup or even that product market fit. So the whole idea behind a course as well, if you're just starting out, try to really go out there and teach people the idea of the course and sell them. So what you don't want to do is to conduct surveys, send an email to a bunch of people and ask them, would you buy this course? What you want to do is to lay out and say, hey, if I made you this offer that, in 14 days or 30 days, however long it would take for someone who is normal to finish a course,
someone
go
who's
through
normal.
your course. Yeah,
like
someone's
at a
normal,
pace. Yeah.
Yeah, at a normal pace to go through your course, and ask them, say, if I can get you outcomes A, B, and C, would you be willing to pay for it? And if so, click on this link here, or even just send me a private message. I'll send you a link to this Google document where you write out details about your course, send them, and include a kind of like a Stripe checkout link, and just see how many people buy. Ideally, you want to keep tweaking that message until you get people buying, purchasing, and of course, don't be like all misleading just to get the sale, right? Don't promise them the end of like the best things in the world. But I've got to promise, like in my what my mentor often tell me is, your claim can only be as big as your results.
Ooh, that's
so
good.
if your biggest result is like you have maybe bought and flipped over 500 houses, that can be your claim, right? But if you have only like helped 10 people flip houses, don't go and say, oh, I can promise you to build. Yeah. Don't claim 500, and then don't claim any of those things that are not true. So
right, you don't want to lie about it, and you want to be honest up front. So I wrote that down. I love that. You said your claim can only be as big as your results.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's one. That's what I would say. I would encourage, really people who are just starting out to do, focus on that approach. A very, very common approach that's been very effective for a long time is actually to be your own Facebook group, be your own community, and then deliver value, kind of like do weekly trainings for a bit, tell them about a course and actually sell them. There are many successful course creators and coaches out there who have used this approach to build even 8-figure businesses. All right.
Awesome.
So these are real, actual strategies that people still use today. And these are the things that you can do rather than read a blog post and, read or some article, hear what they talk about, or do it, and then you just basically follow those kind of strategies. So I highly recommend, just going through an organic approach. If you have a list or an audience, that's great. If you know someone with a list that you can borrow or kind of do a JV or joint venture on, that's even better. If you don't have your own audience, then you just simply got to start somewhere and start from scratch. You just got to recognize the reality that your success will not come as easy as people who have already got an audience, who are influencers, or who have already built some kind of like a viewership on YouTube or Facebook. So you got to like really start from scratch. And if you just recognize that, you can be more patient with yourself. Give yourself 6 months, give yourself 9 months to actually build your audience and launch the course. You can easily get 30 to 50 sales in 6 to 9 months if you just focus on putting hard work in every single day for a good period of time. So that's really what my advice would be if you're just starting out. Where I recommend people to really start looking into ads is if they can generate, I would say, about $50,000 a month consistently as a coach, because as a high ticket coach, you're usually charging between $3,000 to $7,000 per client. So if you can consistently get about $30,000 to $50,000 in sales, I think it's a good time for you to go into ads. Separately, if you're a course creator, I would say you would typically get into ads like, once you start hitting 10, 20K, because your ticket size is pretty small. You're earning maybe $1,000 a product, and you want to ideally get a bit of like audience and momentum going. So yeah, so that's basically what I think. I don't recommend running ads to build a list, to then try and sell off the list. I think it's a very slow approach, and I think a lot of people will not see the ROI. In fact, a lot of people will only see the actual ROI after 3 months for every cohort. And this brings me back into the whole idea of your business model. So I think a lot of people think that the idea of building a list and then selling off the list is a safer approach, but actually it's the riskier approach, because you need to have a proper upsell and back-end strategy in order to monetize those leads. And a lot of people just don't know how to do that. So they end up building a bunch of leads, paying thousands of dollars, and they never actually recuperate their money. Or if they recover their money, they usually take at least 3 to 4 months. That's exactly how long I've seen a lot of these course creators take. So a lot of course creators, they're successful, that I actually work with, some of them actually use the same approach, right? They build a list, but they have gotten everything on the back end figured out. They know exactly how long it takes for the average customer to buy, what kind of back-end products they will buy, how many % of them will convert on the back end, and eventually they make money from it. So they might recoup all of the money after 2 or 3 months, and then they start making like 3 to 5x of the initial investment after 5 months. So that is basically what we do in terms of a cohort-based kind of like investment and customer lifetime value and that kind of stuff. So you don't really want to get into that if you're just starting out as an entrepreneur for the first time. You want a simple business model. You make a sale, you make the money, and you make some returns of it. Even if it just means breaking even on the front end, it's good enough, right? You have a product or a set of products that you're selling for between $150 to $300. That's usually the number that we see doing pretty well on Facebook these days. So you make that sale, and throughout the whole process, let's say your average order value adds up to $150, and you pay about $150 to acquire that customer. Now you've broken even, but now you have also built your list for free, right? Instead of paying thousands of dollars for leads, not only have you acquired a paying customer, you've validated your product, you've gotten and acquired a lead, and it's not just a random lead. It is a lead that has taken out their wallet to buy from you. So those are the 3 key criteria or 3 key differences between getting a buyer or selling a product directly to cold traffic or to strangers versus trying to build a list and then trying to sell to that list, because you started off that relationship being non-transactional and you're hoping at some time to turn it into a transactional relationship. And you don't do that just by providing value to people. That's not really the approach. Providing value to people is great for building goodwill, but it might not be great for building a business. So those are really 2 different things. But basically, the second phase is where people get at the 50K mark. We try to run ads for them, and that's where we try to validate and build their paid traffic funnel. And once they get it working, the third part is really simple. It's about scaling. And when it comes to scaling, there's a lot of different strategies and techniques that we could go into later on.
Cool. So for the Facebook group, I'm assuming, it seems like a lot of work to create one and build it and nurture it. Do you suggest people build their own or just go to other Facebook groups and kind of engage with the communities in there?
Yeah, so ideally for sustainability, especially if you're building something in the long term, you want to have your own Facebook groups. So there are three key, I would say, areas that you would be able to do quite well with a small group. So like whether it's in a relationship, health, or wealth niche, if it's anything related to these 3 things, typically you just need a small group to get it going. However, if you're in like a hobbies niche, like you're talking about things like weaving, talking about things like photography, all these things require a much larger group for you to get going, like typically in at least thousands. But those are, these are the times where I guess you want to start early and you really want to refine your topic, because let's say you're a photographer, right? You probably don't really know what topic to go into. You think photography is huge enough or is small enough, is niche enough, but it's actually isn't. You want to do photography, you want to start teaching, and then you want to start engaging with people, and then start realizing and finding out who is your tribe. who are the people you love and enjoy teaching the most, and who are the kind of people that you think or you can imagine actually teaching for the rest of your life. So a lot of times people do find a niche eventually after 6 months, a year, or even a couple of years. So it all depends on how actively you're looking into refining your niche over time. I have a client today. She's one of the most well-known photographer course creators in Australia and this part of the region as well. She's also pretty big in the United States because we run so much ads over there as well. And she has this list of 60,000 people who are actually on the list, and over 4,000 people who have been paying customers. And these are typically moms. We're talking about moms who just want to capture those most beautiful moments when their kids are just growing up. So when they're just really young, and when they want to capture family photography and things like that. So a lot of moms start out that way, and they end up building a photography career by going through her back-end or more advanced courses for them to actually become either food photographer, industry photographer, or architecture photographer. And they go into all these kind of different things as they, but they all first started just by learning how to manage and use their DSLR cameras. So there is that niche. And it all comes down to what you do, right? You could focus on baby photography. You could focus on some kind of photography. Food photography is a huge one as well. So ideally, you want to find a niche for yourself.
Cool. I love that you said that. So like, who is your tribe? Who can you picture yourself teaching for the rest of your life? Those are all great questions. I'm kind of thinking about this too, because I know I've interacted with a few people in my audience for everyone listening, but I still know there's some people who have no idea, like, what do they do? What do they want from me? What kind of content should I talk about? And so the example you just said there, I wrote this down. It's not just photography. Like, that's not really specific enough. You got to engage with the group and see, maybe most people in your tribe or in your audience consists of those moms. And I'm just laughing because my girlfriend's sister is like that mom. She doesn't take any pictures of herself. It's all of her kid, and they're all amazing. She's like on baby covers and stuff because the pictures are coming out so good. So maybe she went through that course of your clients. I'm not sure, but
it is possible.
It is. Yeah. With a list of 60,000, that is a huge list. So once you dial it down, that's when you can nurture your list and engage with them and just continue to narrow that message down of what your offer is. And you'll have a good audience and offer fit. Because you're right. You said that earlier. A lot of people, they don't really know who's in their audience. They're not sure how to package a product or a course and upsells. It's a lot of things to piece together. And if you don't know who's really in your audience, then you can't really dial in that message.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah. So basically, that's what I would recommend people focus on the first stage, is really just being patient. Don't look too much at the money, but focus at the fundamentals of the business. The key thing is who is your tribe, knowing your audience, and knowing what product sells to them, what kind of messaging sells to them as well, and just focus on refining your offer. Switch up the prices, raise the prices if you must, and do all the things like that you need to make things work from a business model point of view. A lot of people think they have things like a product problem, but what they have is more like a business model problem as well. Right. So that's what we find generally, not just with course creators, but even when I was, working one of our clients right now, just a couple of weeks ago, we were visiting this topic. I was talking about this, and I was just asking them, well, what exactly you help your customers do? They are one of the most prominent and fastest growing nutritional coaching companies in the United States. And they were telling me that a lot of all these personal trainers, gym owners, nutrition coaches, fitness coaches think that they have a systems problem. They think that they have I got to get like X number of people in. I got to be able to hire coaches to serve these people. And they say, no, but fundamentally, they all have business model issues. They're not charging the right rate. They're not packaging it properly. They're charging hourly and things like that. So They end up getting stuck at that 10K or even 5K per month kind of a mark, and never be able to actually grow and turn their practice into an actual business. So really knowing, whether you have a business model problem, a systems problem, or a marketing problem, like those are three different layers that you want to figure out. So you want to make sure that at the start, yes, while you're figuring out your marketing, you're also figuring out your business model. And if you're just starting from scratch, really just have a realistic and proper expectation, right? Don't compare yourself with people who built a 7-figure course in a month's time.
Yeah.
That's like 1 in a million. Right? That the industry is huge. Just a couple of months ago, I was talking to people from Kajabi, and they were telling me last year, their course creators processed $1.5 billion in sales.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think Thinkific is around, if I'm not wrong, Thinkific was around 250 million because they listed in Canada and they were able to share it.
Hmm.
So Thinkific did 250 million, Kajabi did 1.5 billion, and
Wow.
Teachable did $500 million. So you just calculate that, and that's over $2.25 billion in course sales alone. And this industry is still growing rapidly. So you
Yeah.
definitely want to be part of it. And you definitely, if you're part of it, things are growing. People are buying more and more courses. Don't like stop, then don't give up. Like the most successful people I've seen are just people who have stayed in the game for the longest period of time.
This is great. I wish we talked a few years ago because I mean, I think everyone in the entrepreneur space has tried to make some kind of course, and maybe all these things that you're talking about, I didn't do any of them right. I didn't know who my audience was. I kind of created something. I wasn't even that passionate about it. I ran ads
Yeah.
to it, and I had a broken product. I didn't have a good message. I wasn't even
Mhm.
sure who my audience was, and so this is great for the next time I take a stab at creating the course, but also staying with it because that really resonated, like that little pain point when you're like, you said don't run ads right away. That's the quickest way to lose money. And like, yeah, no kidding. You put 500 or $1,000 into Facebook ads and it kind of goes into a black hole if you're not targeting the right people. Your messaging, maybe you may have an awesome course, but if you have the wrong messaging, you're not attracting the right people. So very good points that we're talking about here. Thank you once again, Jason. I'm just like laughing because so many of these things I'm like, yep, I've done that wrong. I did that wrong.
I think more people should do what you're exactly doing. You have an audience right now. You have done this podcast for some time. You have really built a rapport with a lot of people, and it's good if you want it. If you love your audience that you currently get on your podcast or
Yeah.
on your YouTube channel, if you're a YouTube creator, really go out there, reach out to these people, or even just do a video or like for you do an episode that you can talk about what it is you have or you want to do, and just say if you're interested, go to this link and if
Drop
you
your
want to
info.
first just
Yeah.
gather information, drop your info, then get information from them or ask them if they vote for the ideas, for example. And then you want to create a course, eventually get to the point where you actually make it transactional and you actually charge for it. A lot of YouTube creators today are going to course creation. A lot of
Right.
financial YouTubers, hobby YouTubers, and really a lot of different spaces. They're all like just doing courses for investments, for this and for that, and they're making a whole bunch of money off it. So it's an actual business model. It's an actual way of monetizing their audience. So it's really at the end of the day, if you want to sell something, you just got to have their audience, and you want to build the audience somehow. Because if you focus on, just building your base for the first 6 months when you don't have the right foundations, focus on building your audience, what's going to happen there? Even if your course creation, kind of entrepreneurship idea doesn't work out, you have the audience. You can do
Yes.
something to monetize the audience somehow. You
Right.
can build a YouTube channel to really have that monetization of ads. Podcasts, you have ads as well. So you have a lot of different ways that you can actually monetize them. Build a merch, build a brand around it and things like that. There are a lot of things you can do even if you do not actually launch a course eventually.
Absolutely. And a lot of people have asked too, like, well, why did you do the podcast? Why did you start it? Because I had tried a few products. I had tried a physical product, a digital product. I think 2017 is around when I started trying to create stuff. I had a patent on an invention. I tried to manufacture it, did a
Nice.
Kickstarter. It didn't work. So I just funded it myself, and failure after failure and lesson after lesson. But the podcast has been a great way to grow an audience, connect with amazing people such as yourself to learn faster. And you're right. I mean, now I have this audience of people who tune in every week and they want to hear what I have to say. And as soon as I do that episode of, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, who's interested? Go to this link and sign up. Do a quick call with me. I'll give 30 minutes away of free knowledge just to interact with you and see who's in my audience. Now I can start to get, before I had no audience, I tried to create the product and sell it, but I was running Facebook ads to cold traffic. I had no audience really. And now I feel a lot better about it because I'm like, ooh, I have an audience. What do they want to learn? And more importantly, what do I feel resonates with me? What could I get excited about teaching for the rest of my life? That's such a great question because a lot of us look at the money at first. And if you just look at the money, you're not going to be excited about it for very long. Even if you hit the money,
Exactly.
right? You're not motivated to continue doing what you're doing. And so I love how you really talked about dialing into what you're passionate about and following that thread.
Yeah, exactly. I think another related example I could give and share is we have this nutrition coach that we're working with. And he was doing $120,000 a month before we started working together on ads and even spending a dollar or dime on ads. He basically had a Facebook group and he has a podcast like you, $14,000 every week or every month, I think. And he does a weekly training that goes to Spotify, that goes to Apple Podcasts, but then he also streams that live in his Facebook group. So it's kind of like one stone killing three birds,
I like that.
And he has the audience, and over time he's making offers at the end of every podcast episode. And that's how he grew. He got so many people who book calls with him, wanting to work with him, believing in his methodology. He started building out his website. He started building out his methodology, creating something around like the approach he has to diet and the way, like how he believes that people should be, doing their diets or designing and preparing their diets. So that is working. He's building one of these different things over and over again. He's building the foundations, and eventually it all becomes a part of his ecosystem.
Yes.
So rather than relying on a single funnel, that is like, I see an ad, I buy from you, which is something that works for some people. But if you're not marketing trained and you don't have those right skill set, go the hard way, go the long way, but be patient, because it's going to go to work out. Because at the end of the day, it's going to help you diversify your traffic. It's going to help you diversify a lot of your business risk in the future. So, just go at it. I think the safest way is really to just focus on the organic traffic if you don't have marketing skill sets.
Absolutely. And it's funny because like 10 minutes before we got on our call, I just tried to turn on a Facebook ad. I hadn't done Facebook ads in forever. And I was like, oh, let me just try this and put it like $10 a day and see what happens. And I just put something together in Canva. I'm doing everything wrong again, but I'm just testing and tweaking because I do have the business. I have a lot of organic business going on right now, which is allowing me to experiment and have a little bit of play money to test. Most of us are not professional marketers, like unless you want to be that. I don't really care to be a professional designer and Facebook ads manager. I'm not really sure. So I just click some random things and put it in the special housing category and hit live. So what you're really harping on here is to focus on what you're good at, go the long route, ideally, unless you're at those numbers, $50K a month as a coach or 10 to 20K a month with a course, then you can start doing the ads. But until then, it's better to just take the long road and build that organic traffic, start a podcast or YouTube channel, have a Facebook group, and really nurture those people. Because you're right. I mean, you're going to have a lot warmer traffic in that audience that you're nurturing than having some cold lead on Facebook, click on your course and pay $2,000. That's less likely to happen.
Exactly. So the next stage, really, when you are reaching that mark or that place where you're running ads, there are really a lot of things that you have to do. You will definitely have to tweak your funnel. You definitely have to tweak your offer slightly. So what works with organic traffic might not necessarily work with paid traffic as well. But ideally, you want to find what is that inflection point that turns people from a stranger into a paying customer. And that can change from person to person. But ideally, let's say, for example, you're working with a high ticket coach, or, you are a high ticket coach. On sales, there are a couple of things that when you talk to customers about, it just instantly gets them lit up or lighting up. Right. This is the same for my agency as well. There are 2 to 3 things that I know specifically that gets our potential clients excited. When I speak to qualified individuals, my closing rate is close to 100%. A lot of times I decide not to close them just because we don't have capacity. Because as an agency if you know how an agency works, you know that you can't take everyone because of we scale based on manpower. We scale based on the number of people we have working in the agency. And unless we're hiring new people every week, we're not going to be able to take on that many clients in the first place. So anyway, back to my point, you want to know what are some of those 2 to 3 key things or reasons why people actually buy from you, and you use that and replicate that messaging throughout your entire funnel, and that's how you can make it work with paid traffic. One big mistake I see a lot of people making when they go into paid traffic, when they're ready to go into paid traffic, is they try to build a separate funnel solely for paid traffic. So, for example, Facebook group is your way of selling. Or webinar is a way of selling, right? But if your Facebook group is a way of selling, don't go start a whole new webinar funnel. Right. But of course, if you do a webinar and it sells really well, like hotcakes, and when I say really well, I know a lot of people ask, what's really well?
What does that
And
mean? Yeah.
I want to give a lot of these people some idea of what's selling really well. So if you sell a course on a webinar, you want to make sure the webinar course is priced at the minimum of $1,000.
Okay.
Because if it's not at $1,000, you're not going to make it work with paid traffic. At the same time, if it's more than $1,000, you want it to convert at least 15 to 20% on the live webinar, because when you switch it to evergreen, the conversion rate is going to drop like a rock, and you're going to end up with a conversion rate of something like 5 or 6%. And I'm referring to the percentage of the attendees, all right? So not the overall webinar registration to purchase rate.
Mm-hmm.
So the overall webinar to register to paid customer conversion rate should be at least around, I would say, 3 to 4% to be scalable, and that's only on the front end. So that's your customer acquisition strategy when it comes to paid traffic, and you ideally want to have other back-end products to maximize or to kind of extend or increase the customer lifetime value. You can't run a business on $1,000 customer lifetime value. You want your customer lifetime value ideally to go beyond $4,000 or $5,000, even if you're running a course business. You want to have a range of products enough to get to that level, or you want to have high ticket coaching program at the end of it to kind of like lead people to it. So yeah, that's basically my comment and my suggestion in terms of pricing and in terms of the business model. And also, I guess, in terms of, questions around how you would first turn that organic traffic into paid traffic, kind of like a funnel. That's roughly a couple of tips there for you.
Cool. Yeah, I've just been writing down notes, and I love how you know all your numbers and percentages. I mean, 15 to 20% conversions on a live webinar is what you want, so that you can get 5 to 6% conversion once you switch it to evergreen. Because you're right. I mean, once you have those automated webinars with the countdown timers and people know you're not really on that call, attendees and attendance will just drop off slightly. So you know what numbers you need to hit in order to hit these automation goals of driving traffic, getting people on the webinar, having them purchase, as well as their lifetime value. You said $4,000 to $5,000, ideally a range of products. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs out there, and we've all bought our fair share of courses and stuff. And so I like to kind of funnel hack, as Russell Brunson says. I like to hack and see what are their courses, what are their upsells? Do they have that one-click upsell for the other product to add another $197? It's just $197 today. Usually it's $500, and that's how you start to raise that customer lifetime value and get them buying more and more products. So we talked about so many great things today, and I'm so super excited because I'm like, gosh, I need to start doing this, because I know I have so many things I can teach. I just haven't put it into a course yet. And I want to get away from just the real estate transaction. So yeah, I'm learning a lot from this as well as the people in my audience. So have we missed anything? Are there any more details or tips or tricks that you recommend for people who maybe even have a course, they're just maybe not doing so well? Feel free to add anything that you think we missed.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I would just drop a couple of tips, or rather maybe I would summarize. I would say the 3 ways I think that you can focus on if you're trying to get your funnel to convert with paid traffic. I think typically the way people work with paid traffic, they're really just 3 funnels, even though you can build 1,000 different funnels.
Right.
The first one is what you described earlier. Is actually what we call a self-liquidation offer funnel, or a SLO funnel. Essentially, you're selling a low ticket product, whether it's $27. I recommend you start off with something in the hundreds. So sell something to cold traffic in the hundreds, and then on the back end, you're upselling them immediately with a one-click upsell. Yep. So for example, for those who don't know, you buy a product today. On the thank you page, I'm selling you another product, and then next step, I'm selling you another product, and then on the next step, maybe I'll sell another product as well. So some people do 2 to 4 upsells, and I've seen that work. But ideally, you want your average order value to be, at least $150 if you want it working with Facebook ads. So that's one approach that I've seen work. The second approach works really well with a Facebook group, and it's actually running challenges. That's what I've seen.
Right.
So basically, what these things are essentially triggers or sales activities that you would do that will convert leads into sales and turn those non-transactional relationships into a transactional relationship. So doing challenges is one. What I find is your challenges typically need a large number, and you also have a lot of a lot of energy and put into it. So it is the natural thing for a lot of course creators to want to do challenges. What I find on my end is after speaking with a lot of them, they get very tired after doing it for 3 to 4 times. There's just so much you need to do that
Yeah.
goes into a
They get
challenge.
burnt out.
Exactly. And then the last thing they do is actually a webinar. A webinar is also a key kind of like a conversion point for a lot of people to turn their strangers or leads into a paying customer. So those are just the 3 models. You don't have to reinvent or create something, from scratch. Just go with one of these 3 models and make it work. And just focus on it. Just go deep into it because there's so many techniques that we're not talking about here. And there is just too much, won't even be able to finish on a 2-hour call.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that we are still trying to learn on our own as we try to test these things with our clients as well. We are learning at the same time we are applying our knowledge and just try and error. I asked someone who built an 8-figure business off the back of a SLO funnel. And I asked him, are there any good resources that I could start learning? And he said, no.
Yep.
Just do trial and error.
Yep.
You just got to try and just learn. Try. Because what's going to work for my business might not work for yours. You just want to make sure you take away some of these principles and go and apply it and learn from it. Really read the data, understand what you're trying to do, and test it. And you will find something that works. So that's basically what his advice was when it comes to testing these things. So I have the same advice I would love to share with everyone. Just as long as you think through what you're doing, have a proper and reasonable and logical hypothesis, then you can test it. The problem with people who say always be testing is they treat it as like they basically outsource the thinking, and then they say, there are 10 possibilities. Let me test all 10 possibilities. What I often teach my team is you're going to make a judgment, and as you gain more experience, you will continue to make better judgments. But you got to first start by practicing making judgments and test those 2 to 3 high key or high probability cases or options in front of you. Don't test all 10 different things because that's the next best way to losing money. You're basically just throwing a lot of money down the drain. So even as we are helping to scale a lot of our clients' businesses from $500,000 to over $1 million, what we find to work is if you're a high ticket coach, you typically just need 1 funnel. So we focus on scaling the offer and booking more calls and things like that. But if you're running a course or a course business, you typically want to have multiple funnels and even multiple offers, multiple products for us to sell, because we want to treat it more like an e-commerce product at the end of the day where we are bundling different things. Like, for example, Father's Day is coming this Sunday. You want to create an offer around it. That's something you can do when you have like multiple courses. If you have just 1 course, what can you do? A Father's Day discount. That's about it.
That's it.
Right? If you have a bundle, there's a lot of things you can do. You can do a 1-for-1. You can create something related to Father's Day. If your industry, has anything related to do with any of these things or any of these occasions. So there's a lot that you can do with a course business, a lot of creativity in there. And ideally, I would say if you're doing $1 million, you would at least have 3 products that are selling to cold traffic. And this is more on the front end to acquire customers, and then more products on the back end to kind of extend and grow that customer lifetime value into the 4-figure, 5-figure mark.
Awesome. Lots of great stuff here. And I love how, I know the marketing and everything but behind ClickFunnels is like, you're just 1 funnel away. And you just said, if you have a 1 product, you can actually be that 1 funnel can be the thing that you need. But this kind of goes back to something I've talked about on previous episodes too. Like, The One Thing is a book that talks about focusing on fewer things. If you try 10 different things, you're not going to give anything enough attention and you're not going to be successful, whether that's ad campaigns or marketing methods or styles, or you're trying to create 10 Facebook groups at once. It's probably not going to be as impactful as if you go all in on just 1 or 2 things that you focus on, you test things, create a hypothesis, and then you just test and see and tweak things. How can I make this convert better? How can I fix the marketing message? Awesome. So what would you say someone can do today? Like, what's the first step you would recommend anyone at any level? Do you have any takeaways that they can do today in order to make their funnels or their business better, their products?
Yeah, I think you would really want to take a step back and study the entire funnel, look at the math, look at the conversion rates from start to end, and know where your lowest hanging fruit is. I can tell you that most of the people who are successful focus on the right things. They focus on solving problems in the right sequence. So they typically solve problems related to offers, funnels, and messaging. at the start. And if you're getting somewhere, then that's where you focus a little bit more on the ad copy, the message, the headlines, and things like that. But don't go into, tweaking things that don't really matter at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's such great advice right there. It's really just trying to figure out what's that next thing that you need to focus on. And I'm doing that with real estate right now too. Like we need traffic. That's why I set up that ad. I'm like, look, I want to wake up and see 5 people who want to sell their house in my pipeline or in my email box instead of like generating stuff from my network only, So that's what I'm working on is the traffic piece. And of course I need to dial in my messaging and make sure the conversions are there. So your one tip would be to look at the conversion math and look at the funnel and see what's the thing you need to focus on next. So lots of great stuff here. I'm just writing notes down furiously because I'm getting ideas of things that I can do too. But awesome. Jason, where can our audience go to connect with you, to learn more, to consider working with you guys and your team to scale their business up? Where can we go to find you?
Yeah, so if you have a business that's doing at least $500,000 and you have something going with paid traffic, definitely welcome you to check in with us to see if we can help you scale. And we are really more of less of a marketing agency, and I see ourselves more as a marketing partner, or a lot of people see us as more like an outsourced marketing department. We actually have clients who don't have a single marketing person, and we are their marketing department. So cool. Those are the clients we love working with because there's so much flexibility and things that we can actually focus on doing. We are really just not people who only focus on ads. We tweak offers, we write emails, and we really bundle up different things to help you create the offers as well. So you can find us at agencyj.co. Okay, so it's agencyj.co. Okay. Or if you just want to find out more about me, connect with me, or just learn more from some of the marketing tips that I share, I run or write a breakdown newsletter where I basically do a breakdown of campaigns every single week. When I'm not doing breakdowns, I basically share other tips or even some other kind of experiences I've learned from growing my own agency from scratch as well. So you can find that at jasonhjh.com. That's jasonhjh.com. And yeah, just sign up for the blog, sign up for the newsletter. I sometimes send case studies. They are only for subscribers. So I don't actually publish that on the blog. So you definitely want to make sure you're subscribed to get the best out of it.
Cool. Well, thank you, Jason. I really enjoyed our conversation. Any last nuggets or questions for me or for the audience or anything we should have on our minds? I want to give you the full opportunity to make a difference in the lives of our listeners today.
Yeah, sure. If you want to, earlier I mentioned on this whole idea of helping you to design your funnel. So if you want to design your funnel, again, we don't do custom work. We only do like a subscription work, which basically means if you have multiple funnels, you think you want designed, you need someone to design your stuff for the longer term, come and work with us, and we just charge you one flat fee for that every single month, and you get to submit as many requests as you want. But of course, the amount of work we can do, it depends on the designer's capacity. We'll only work on one active project at one time. So that's that. But when it comes to advice generally for everyone, keep listening to this podcast.
Thank you. Yes, that is great advice because I bring on amazing guests like Jason and, other entrepreneurs from various industries just to learn new things, because we always need to be learning, but we also need to be applying. And so that's why I'm taking so many notes, because I don't want this to just go out one ear, go in one ear, go out the other. I want to actually implement and iterate and tweak my funnels and my website and my landing pages and all those things. So Jason, once again, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you know as soon as this episode goes live, and I will share all of these links with the audience.
Thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate you.
Thank you. Hey everyone, Chris Bello here. Just wanted to thank you real quick for listening to the show, whether you're listening on podcast or YouTube or wherever it is that you may be listening. I wanted to make that quick offer about real estate help. I am in the real estate business. That is my main business and how I make all my income and my living, by helping others buy, sell, rent, or invest in real estate across the nation. If you have any questions at all, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. Again, that is chrisbello.com/real estate. I'd love to see if I can help you out in my markets. And maybe if you're in a market outside of the ones that I'm focusing on right now, I'd love to connect you with a real estate professional who can help fulfill whatever needs or services that you are requiring. So again, go to chrisbello.com/real estate. A great thing is when I connect you with a vetted professional, if I'm not able to help you myself, is whenever a transaction closes, I'm actually able to get a referral commission. So that can be a great way of thanking me for my content. It helps to support the show, and it helps me to continue to spend time bringing on amazing guests, doing these great interviews, spending a lot of time on creating content, and making sure that I can bring you the very best information that you need to grow professionally, emotionally, intelligently, and in every single area. We're all working on getting better at everything. And so my focus and expertise is in real estate. I'd love to be the one to help you again. If you're not interested in that, no worries at all. Please continue to listen to the show. Make sure you leave a review. It helps so much in getting new followers and sharing the message. And thank you once again for being a listener. I'll catch you on the next episode.